Sarah Ann Havens was only one of several mysteries that were solved as I searched out the details of my Campbell family history. Exactly where my great-great-grandfather, William Campbell, met Sarah Ann Havens, how their relationship developed, and what plans they had are all details that most certainly will never be discovered. But meet they did, and for 9 short years, William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens built a hopeful and productive life together in Pioneer, Ontario. Sarah Ann Havens was the 4th child of William Havens and Huldah Gilbert. Although their first daughter, Elmira, died after only a few months in 1820, the other 5 children survived into adulthood. William Havens was born in Ontario, although his parents, John Havens and Charity Smith, may have emigrated from the United States into Canada in the tumultuous years following the American Revolution. Huldah Gilbert's parents were Roland Gilbert and Phoebe Thurston, part of an established pioneer family in the Long Point area of Norfolk County. William and Huldah had a growing family and a well-established farming operation when tragedy struck in 1828. William went to the barn one morning in February to feed the animals and stepped back, accidentally jabbing his heel on the tine of a pitchfork that had fallen to the barn floor. He took no notice of the injury, describing it as nothing at all, and after breakfast went to work in the fields. The next day he again went to the fields, but returned after a couple of hours, complaining that he did not feel well. By the next day he was fevered and a doctor was summoned. The doctor decided that he should amputate the injured leg in order to stop what he must have diagnosed as blood poisoning, a death sentence for many pioneers in the days before antibiotics were discovered. The operation plus the advancing sepsis killed William Havens a few hours later at the age of 31. Huldah, perhaps pregnant at the time, would be left with 5 children under the age of 7, 3 being under the age of 4, to take care of and a farm to manage. Sarah Ann Havens was only about 2 years old when her father died, but with the help of family and friends, Huldah did manage with both family and farm until she remarried 5 years later in 1833 in the St. John's Anglican Church in Woodhouse Parish in Norfolk County. There is powerful evidence that William Campbell and several members of his family and related members of the Isaac family traveled together during their emigration to Canada. A document in my possession suggested that the Campbell-Isaac group stopped first near Scotland. On my first reading of the material, I did not immediately grasp the significance of which Scotland the document referenced, since the Campbell-Isaac group had just left Scotland in the United Kingdom. In fact, the document was referring to the village of Scotland, just north of the current city of Simcoe in Norfolk County. It appears the location of the group's first attempt at settlement was correct. It was Norfolk County. However, the Campbell-Isaac group quickly left Norfolk County and moved to Northumberland County, just south of Rice Lake, near the village of Harwood, where they established very successful farms noted for raising world-class beef cattle. Research located a marriage in Norfolk County between a William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens in 1845. Although no exact date was provided for this marriage, it was possible to localize the marriage date as sometime, probably in June or very early July 1845. Later research would confirm that the William Campbell who married Sarah Ann Havens was indeed my great-great-grandfather. I am in debt to Irene and the Norfolk County Historical Society for locating that reference in the marriage registers for the St. John's Anglican Church in Woodhouse Parish, Norfolk County. Although William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens are probably married sometime in June 1845, they appear to immediately move to Northumberland County. Whether William Campbell moved with the rest of his original extended family or was delayed for a few months by marriage plans is not known. William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens are recorded in the United Church Archives as affiliated with a brand new Congregational Church in Cold Springs, Hamilton Township. During the church year of 1845-46, William Campbell is listed as the church secretary and a deacon. The congregational minister of this church was Reverend William Hayden. William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens appear to have interacted with Reverend Hayden and his wife on a personal level, as well as through church-related activities. The fact that William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens gave their first son the middle name of Hayden confirms the high regard with which they held the Congregational minister. In 1847, a municipal census is taken for Hamilton Township. William Campbell does not show up on this 1847 municipal census, although we know from church records that William Campbell and Sarah Ann Havens had indeed been resident in the township for at least a year or two. It is worth noting a Campbell entry for Samuel Campbell, who has 100 acres cultivated and another 20 acres uncultivated. Samuel Campbell is not related to my Campbell family and appears to be an established farmer in the township. Also worth noting in the box is the presence of David Sidey. David Sidey is a retired tavern owner from Rice Lake who has recently purchased or been granted several farms in Hamilton Township. William Campbell was engaged to work one of these farms for David Sidey. By the time the first census is completed for Canada West in 1851, the Campbell family has expanded to 4, with the addition of William Campbell, born in 1848, and Sylvester Campbell, born in 1849. It is worth noting here that William and Sarah have named their first 2 sons, William for Sarah Ann's father, and Sylvester for William's father, in keeping with traditional Scottish naming patterns. This clip from the 1851 census of Canada West confirms the household members' names, that William Campbell is identified as a farmer, that William Campbell was born in Scotland, and that William and Sarah identify themselves as Congregationalists. 3 years later, the life that William and Sarah have created starts to unravel. A third son, named John, is born but only lives for 2 months, dying on March 17, 1853. Compounding this tragedy, Sarah Ann herself dies the following year, on May 3, 1854. No cause of death in either case has been discovered. William Campbell is left with a farm to manage and 2 young sons under the age of 6 to care for. Following a prolonged search, I finally located the tombstone for Sarah Ann and John Campbell in the Cold Springs Pioneers Memorial Cemetery. This photo was taken on my second trip to the cemetery and tells its own tale. The red arrow points to a crack where the tombstone was broken over the years. On my first visit, the bottom 5 lines were not visible. The top part of the stone had broken off and been reset in the earth, obscuring a couple of lines, and the part of the tombstone below the crack was completely missing, probably buried in the earth and covered by grass for a number of years. Between my first and second visit, there was restoration work done in the cemetery, and fortunately this tombstone was one that was reattached and remounted on a cement base during that work. The Cold Springs Pioneers Memorial Cemetery, established in 1835, is located beside the main road through the hamlet of Cold Springs in Hamilton Township. The cemetery contains the tombstone for Sarah Ann and John Campbell, Reverend William Hayden, his wife and son, David Sidey and his wife Ann Suter, and a large number of other pioneer family members. A large stone cairn near the road is located on the spot where the original Congregational church stood. Researching Sarah Ann Havens was important because all of my research sources had completely missed her and her relationship to William Campbell. In fact, the information that I discovered regarding Sarah Ann Havens and her relationship to my great-great-grandfather, William Campbell, was likely unique at the time I first published the details to the internet. No other document or anecdotal memories within my Campbell family tree made any reference at all to Sarah Ann Havens. Like so many individual pioneer lives, she was lost to history until, with the help of many individuals and the expense of many hours of research, Sarah Ann Havens reemerged to take her place in my Campbell family tree. This was indeed a great moment, and one that I remember well. Now, the Sarah Ann Havens story could be told, even if the ending was not a happy one. A nice addition to this great moment was the receipt of an email from a respected researcher in Norfolk County, stating that she and her colleagues had looked for years trying to figure out what had happened to Sarah Ann Havens, as she seemed to suddenly disappear from the records. In a sense, Sarah Ann Havens did disappear, at least from the records in Norfolk County, but she immediately reappeared in the records for Northumberland County. Now, thanks to much research, Sarah Ann Havens appears in all of the family trees that use this research as a basis for their own narrative